Hello, it is Andrea Schulman again, and welcome to another Law of Attraction video. In today's video, we are going to talk about the cult of toxic positivity, what it is, and how to avoid it. Sounds kind of sinister. It is kind of sinister, and it's pervasive these days. But don't be scared. This isn't that big of a deal. We're gonna get through it. Again, my name is Andrea Schulman. I create Law of Attraction content both here and on my website, raiseyourvibrationtoday.com. And if you're excited to watch today's video, please give it a thumbs up right now. And let's go ahead and jump on into the video. So today's video was inspired by a longtime viewer of mine, Christine. I'm going to try to put the question that she put up somewhere here on the video, but she was asking me about my positivity and how it comes across as genuine. And it reminded me of a question that I got on a YouTube live that I did a while back on toxic positivity. And I realized I don't have a video on this specific term yet, and I really thought it would be useful to talk about toxic positivity, because when you're in the world of the law of attraction, when you're in the world of spirituality, consciousness, a lot of times toxic positivity filters in. So specific for my law of attraction friends, when you learn about the law of attraction, you learn how important it is to be positive, and that positive thoughts create a positive reality. This is true, okay? This is absolutely true. But when people learn about this, sometimes they start to take on this idea that I'm only allowed to think positive. I'm only allowed to be positive. Good vibes only. Don't be negative. And this is kind of one of those situations where there's an important thing to understand, but we take it way too far into a direction that actually dilutes its ability to be effective. See, toxic positivity occurs when, as an individual or as a collective group, we've kind of decided that we're not allowed to be negative. We're not allowed to have negative thoughts. We're not allowed to have negative emotions. We are only allowed to have good vibes. And this is extremely problematic with the law of attraction, because when we venture into that territory of good vibes only, not allowed to be negative, not allowed to have a negative emotion, we are actually restricting ourselves. We are actually putting ourselves in bondage. We are actually imprisoning ourselves. Why? Because we're telling ourselves we can't do something. We can't be something. We're not allowed to feel the way we feel. Yes, good vibes are important. Positivity is important. But a very important element of that is freedom. Somebody who has unlimited freedom is going to create a much better reality for him or herself than somebody who is in a state of bondage. And telling yourself that you're not allowed to feel negative is putting yourself in bondage. It's telling yourself you have to act a certain way. You have to be a certain way. You're not allowed to be a certain way. As an added benefit, it's not really a benefit at all, but it's something that comes along with that. When you tell yourself you're not allowed to be negative, when you tell yourself you're not allowed to feel negative, guess what? The law of attraction makes it more and more likely for you to feel that way, because your emphasis is on, I'm not allowed to do this. I'm not allowed to do this. And through the law of attraction doesn't hear no. It doesn't hear not. It doesn't hear stop. It just hears that you're focusing on your negative emotion. So the more you try to fight against your negative emotions, your negative feelings, your low vibes, the more you actually keep them active. And this is why toxic positivity really needs to be avoided. You do not want to put yourself in a position where you're not allowing yourself to do something. Rather, you want to put your focus on, I prefer to be positive. I like being positive. I enjoy being positive. Rather than I'm only allowed to be positive. The toxic positivity really isn't about being positive at all. It's actually a serious form of negativity. So if you're around people who are telling you just be positive, don't think negatively, doesn't feel good, right? It's because it's not positive. It's actually negative. Toxic positivity is not positive. So to kind of go back to Christine's question about how I come across as genuinely positive, what I want to articulate here is that positivity for me is a choice, okay? It's a choice. It's what I want to be doing. In addition to that, I always validate myself that I'm allowed to feel how I feel. So if I feel negative, fine. If I feel like being mad, I'm mad. If I feel like being upset, I'm upset. And in giving myself the freedom to feel my emotions, I actually allow them to dissolve a lot quicker because I'm not fighting against them. Oh my goodness, my vibration's low. Ah, oh my goodness, I'm thinking negatively, can't do that. Rather, this is how I feel right now. And I prefer to feel positive, but I'm allowed to feel this way for as long as I want to. I'm always telling myself that when I go through life's little hiccups. The other thing that really helps me stay in a more genuine state of positivity is understanding something so critical, which is that your negative emotions are not the enemy. They're not the enemy. It is true that positive thoughts and emotions create a positive reality. It is true. But that does not mean that negative emotions are bad. No. One thing that's extremely helpful in stepping more into genuine positivity rather than toxic positivity or inauthentic positivity is coming to acknowledge that your negative thoughts and emotions are guidance. They are guidance. They're actually there to help you. If you don't push against them and acknowledge that they're there to help you, they will. How is it possible that your negative thoughts and emotions are guidance? Well, one of my favorite law of attraction teachers, Abraham Hicks, has an analogy that's so great, so I'm going to use it in this context. She talks a lot about a stove and putting your hand on a stove. If you put your hand on a stove, when it's hot, it burns, it hurts. It's letting you know, take your hand off the stove, right? Take your hand off the stove. This action isn't working for you, so take your hand off the stove. And we will automatically follow that kind of guidance, right? If there's something that causes physical pain, we will retreat from it immediately because it's telling us, don't put your hand there. Okay, it's gonna burn all the flesh off your hand. Get your hand off of there quickly. But when we engage in toxic positivity, it's like putting our hand on the stove and saying, well, just be positive about this. Just hang in there. It's going to get better. No, it's always an indication to take your hand off the stove. And so what I mean by this is that if you start feeling negative, what it means is the kinds of thoughts you're thinking, the things that you are focusing on, the things that you are doing psychologically and otherwise are moving you in a direction you don't want to go. So maybe you're on the phone with your mother and the conversation is just feeling really, really negative. Really negative. Now, somebody who's toxically positive is going to sit there and say, just hang in there. Just keep going. You can turn this around. But if you're genuinely positive, you will acknowledge that right here in this moment, the universe is trying to tell me, get off the phone. Take your hand off the stove. For the love of God, this isn't working for you. See, in that way, your negative emotions and your negative thoughts really serve you if you listen to them. Look at your negative emotions and your negative thoughts as your hand on a stove. It's trying to tell you that what you're doing right now isn't working. You don't need to positive think your way out of it. Just stop doing it. Go do something else. It's really that simple. See, in this way, we really validate our negative thoughts. We validate our negative emotions. We allow ourselves to be where we are. We don't push against it. We don't keep our hand on that stove and allow it to burn the flesh off of our soul, so to speak. And if you are new to my work or the law of attraction and you haven't yet seen the phenomenon of your thoughts creating your reality, I would love to invite you to take my law of attraction test. This is a very quick 5-minute test designed so that you can put something out there and watch it come back. To take that test now, go ahead and look below in the description for a link. Thanks so much for watching today's video on the cult of toxic positivity. And of course, I look forward to bringing you another video soon. Bye-bye.